actually our major sponsor with as Josie with the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce, our president and CEO. And thank you so much, Josie, for doing so much of the work to present this today. And we're very honored and pleased to have Laura and Phil from Oregon Employment Department join us. Just a couple of housekeeping details. We are going to accept questions and you can put them in the chat. There will also be a time available for potential live questions, and we're going to ask that you let our team here go through the presentation, and then the second part of the hour will be in answering questions, and really do appreciate you all joining us. And so I'd like to introduce Laura Ayala. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. That is great.
Thank you. And Philip Hudspeth, both with Oregon Employment Department. And they are here today to help us better understand the new program, Paid Leave Oregon. And so we are pleased for you to join us, and we're going to get started. And take it away, Laura.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Ayala. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an outreach program analyst here at Paid Leave Oregon. I'm pleased to also have Philip Hudspeth, also an outreach program analyst with us here today. Philip will be running our slides and assisting with the Q&A, and thank you for having us. Today, we will spend the first few minutes providing an overview of our program, including the specific topics covered on this slide. After we conclude an overview of the program, we will begin to take questions in the chat or verbally by activating the hand-raising function. If it's available, that's okay. You can unmute as well. Again, please save your questions until after the presentation is over. On the screen, you will see members of our leadership and outreach team. Paid Leave Oregon has strategically created a geographically diverse outreach team who spans across the state to better support employers and employees. So when does paid leave start? With the passing of the House Bill 2005 in 2019, Oregon joins 11 other states with a paid leave program. Contributions started on January 1st, 2023, and benefits begin September 3rd of 2023. So who is covered? Paid Leave Oregon covers nearly all employers in Oregon, including nonprofits, S corporations, and religious organizations. All employees except employees of the federal and tribal governments are required to participate in the Paid Leave program. So what is Paid Leave Oregon? In Oregon, paid leave is for up to 12 weeks with 2 additional weeks for some pregnancy-related conditions. Leave can be taken in 3 broad categories. Family leave, to care for a family member with a serious illness or injury, or to bond with a new child after birth, adoption, or foster care placement. Medical leave during one's own serious health condition, and safe leave for survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, harassment, or stalking. Something unique about paid leave in Oregon is our definition of family member. Paid leave defines family member as anyone related to the employee by blood or affinity. Bonding with a child. So for leave to bond with a child during the first year after the child's birth, paid leave will ask for one of the following: a birth certificate, counselor report of birth abroad, a document issued by a healthcare provider of the child or pregnant parent, or a hospital admission form. For leave to bond with a new child after adoption or foster care placement, paid leave will ask for a copy of a court order, statement from the foster care or adoption agency, or other legal documentation confirming adoption or foster care placement. So what qualifies as a serious health condition? Paid leave's definition of a serious health condition is similar to what some may be familiar with through the Oregon Family Leave Act, with some differences. Aspects of serious health condition that qualify for Paid Leave Oregon and OFLA include but are not limited to conditions that require inpatient care, conditions that require constant or continuous care, Conditions that involve a period of incapacity. So incapacity must involve one of the following: 2 or more treatments by a healthcare provider, or 1 treatment plus a regimen of continuing care. Conditions that pose a danger of death or are terminal in prognosis. Conditions that involve a period of disability due to pregnancy, childbirth, or a period of absence for prenatal care, or involve a period of absence due to donate a body part, organ, or tissue. Notable differences between OFLA and paid leave definition are that paid leave recognizes serious health conditions that involve a period of disability due to miscarriage or stillbirth. This includes both physical and mental impacts related to the loss of pregnancy. Paid leave does not replace existing leave programs such as Oregon Family Leave Act, or ORFLA, and the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, the FEMLA. The paid leave statute limits the total number of weeks of combined paid and unpaid leave in a benefit year to 16 weeks, up to 12 weeks paid and another 4 weeks unpaid under OFLA and FEMLA. Employees may have access to other types of leave, short-term disability, long-term disability, employer, union, or private plans, Oregon sick leave, and other accrued leave. If an employee is eligible for unemployment insurance or workers' compensation, they are not eligible for paid leave. Paid leave does not prohibit employees from taking short-term or long-term disability while on paid leave. We recommend consulting with your insurance provider if they don't issue that as well, if they are okay with it or not. So, medical leave application. While the application for paid leave benefits is still being developed, there's a lot we know about what will be required to verify eligibility for leave. For medical leave, the employee will need to verify their own or their family member's serious health condition by providing their basic information and information about their healthcare provider, the date when the serious health condition began, or when it created a need for leave, to establish duration of leave, and information sufficient to establish that the claimant or their family member has a serious health condition. Verification for safe leave can come from a number of places. Documentation can come from an attorney, law enforcement officer, healthcare provider, mental health professional or counselor, member of the clergy, Title IX coordinator, or victim service providers like a child advocacy center or a sexual assault and domestic violence victim advocacy program. We recognize that there are significant privacy, confidentiality, and safety issues when it comes to safe leave. In cases of safe leave where the employee is unable to obtain or provide verification documentations, they may instead provide a written statement attesting that they are taking eligible safe leave. So employer size. There are different rules for large and small employers. Paid leave Oregon defines large employers as those with 25 or more employees. Employee size is determined by payroll reporting submitted by the employer. Employee count will be determined in April for 2023. The employee count includes full-time, part-time, seasonal, and temporary employees, as well as out-of-state workers. Employers determine their size by counting the number of employees, including both those inside and outside of Oregon. Only workers hired to replace employees taking paid leave are excluded from the count. Okay, assistant grants. Small employers that agree to pay the employer portion of contributions may be eligible for assistant grants to help with the cost of hiring a replacement worker or other significant wage-related costs. The grants available are $3,000 grant to hire a replacement worker, or up to $1,000 grant for wage-related costs, such as overtime or training costs. Up to $30,000 per year in grants are available per employer. So place of performance. For employees who regularly work in both Oregon and another state, we look at factors such as where is the base of operations, where is the work directed from, and where is the employee's residence, in this order to determine if they are eligible for paid leave Oregon. Contributions are a percentage of wages paid by both employees and employers. It is how we are funding the Paid Leave Oregon program together. The contribution rate or percentage of paid leave is set annually no later than November 15th by the Employment Department and cannot exceed the 1% of gross employee wages. The rate for 2023 is 1% of up to $132,900 in wages. Earnings over this amount are not subject to contributions. The 1% rate was set after 2 years of analysis and actuary data and numerous discussions with our advisory committee that is made up of members representing business, worker, and community voices. There are a number of reasons why this rate was chosen, but it will be reevaluated every year. Employees pay 60% of the contribution rate, and large employers pay 40% of the contribution rate. Smaller employers with fewer than 25 employees are not required to pay the employer portion of contributions. As an example, if you've earned $1,000 in wages this month, the employee would pay $6 and the large employer would pay $4. Employers may choose to pay the employee portion as a benefit for their employees. So one question we get frequently from businesses and individuals is what payroll contributions might look like. This slide shows some examples of what that contribution amount equals for different types of wage earners. As an example, a minimum wage worker would annually pay $168 and the business pay $112. 1 week of paid leave benefits for the same individual would be $540. Lowest wage workers will receive 100% wage reimbursement, with less than 100% for those workers in mid and high income jobs. When we calculate benefits, we look at how much the employee earned compared to the state average weekly wage of $1,224.82. For people earning more than 65% of the state average weekly wage, benefits will be calculated in the following way. 65% of the state average weekly wage plus 50% of your average weekly wage that exceeds $1,224.82. The maximum benefit amount is $1,469.78. The state average weekly wage through the summer of 2023 is $1,224.82. If benefits were to go live today, the minimum weekly benefit amount would be $61.24, and the maximum weekly benefit amount would be $1,469.78. These examples are based on approximations and average earnings over the course of a year. Lowest wage workers will receive 100% wage reimbursement, with less than 100% for workers in mid and high income jobs. As we get closer to benefits going live, we will have a benefit calculator available on our website. Some businesses will choose to purchase or create their own equivalent plan instead of participating in the state trust. Individuals working for an equivalent plan employer will still receive the same level or higher of benefits required by Pay Leave Oregon. For more information on equivalent plans, visit our website, www.paidleave.oregon.gov. What are employers' responsibilities when paid leave starts? Employers should notify their employees of the program by providing them with a model notice poster available on our website. This poster should be placed in an area frequented by employees, such as the break rooms or other shared spaces. For remote employees, the notice should be delivered by hand, mail, or electronically. Employers began withholding contributions this year and will submit those on behalf of their employees. If they are a large employer, they will pay the 40% employer share of the contribution. The contributions will be reported and submitted on the combined quarterly payroll report. A comprehensive guide for employers called the Employer Toolkit can be found on our website, paidleave.oregon.gov/employers. Employers will be notified at least twice when their employees file for paid leave benefits, once at the time of application and again when their claim is approved or denied. If an employee needs to extend their leave or change how many days in a week they will take leave, for example, the employer will be notified at that time as well. Information shared with the employer when a claimant is approved or denied includes the following: the employee's name, the approval or denial decision, if approved, period of leave, the number of approved leave weeks or days, leave dates, when leave starts and how many days per week. Pay leave will not share health information related to family, medical, or safe leave with the employers. Equally, employees are not required to share any health information with their employers. What are employees' responsibilities? Employers are required to provide notice when they need to take paid leave. For foreseeable leave, such as pregnancy or planned surgery, employees must give 30-day notice to their employers. In case of unforeseeable leave, when unplanned events happen, the requirement is to provide verbal notice within 24 hours and written notice within 3 days. The rule allows for good cause exceptions if the employee is not able to provide notice within this time frame. Once the employee is on leave, they will be required to notify the employment department if there's a change in their leave status. Now let's talk a moment about job protection under Paid Leave Oregon. The employee's job is protected if they've worked for the employer more than 90 days. This applies to both large and small employers. If the position no longer exists, the employer may choose to place the employee in a different position with similar job duties with the same pay. Okay, taxability. So Paid Leave Oregon contributions are taken out after tax and will not reduce your taxable income. Paid leave benefits are taxable. Taxes will not be automatically withheld from benefits. The Oregon Department of Revenue provided detailed information about the tax treatment for contributions and benefits in a memo, which is on the Paid Leave Oregon website. We will share the link to the memo in the chat now. The Oregon Employment Department's new system is now ready for use. Francis Online will replace the Oregon Payroll Reporting System and the Employer Account Access Portal, beginning with the third quarter filing in 2022. The new system will support combined payroll reporting, including unemployment insurance tax, workers' benefit fund, state withholding tax, lien and transit taxes, statewide transit tax, and Paid Leave Oregon contributions. Visit francisinfo.oregon.gov for more information. Let's do a brief recap before we turn it over to you for your questions. The contribution rate for 2023 is 1% of gross wages. An employee, no matter how many hours you work, who has earned at least $1,000 in the year prior to claiming pay leave may be eligible. If you've earned at least $1,000 in wages this month, the employee would pay $6 and the employer would pay $4 in contributions. The minimum weekly benefit amount would be $61.24, and the maximum weekly benefit amount would be $1,469.78. The state average weekly wage through June of 2023 is $1,224.82. The employee's job is protected if they've worked for their employer more than 90 days. So this concludes our overview, and we would love to hear your questions or clarifier. Please put the questions in the chat section or raise your hand, and we can call on you to unmute.
There was an early chat about defining affinity, and I'm sorry, I forgot which slide that was on, but it was early on in the
in the presentation, yes. Yes, so my understanding for this, if it's looking for affinity, it's the employer. If I, for example, myself, if I have a neighbor that I've been friends with for 15 years and I consider them family, then I would be able to apply for paid leave to help them if they need help. Like say they have a surgery and they need help with bathing or showering or whatever. I would be able to apply for paid leave on that because I consider him or her part of my family because we've been knowing each other for 15 years and I consider them family.
Yeah, so it's similar definition that's currently in use under the Oregon Family Leave Act. It is a bit more broad by adding that definition of affinity because not all families look the same and family members can be quite extended as opposed to just by related.
Phil, your audio cut out there.
Yeah, I was like, no, wait, what?
Well, so it's a bit broader than what's currently under the Oregon Family Leave Act.
Your volume is low now. Sorry.
Okay, I don't know what's happening here.
Sorry, stand by technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Philip? Oh, he's still muted. Okay. Huh. Okay, so maybe it's just the sound.
Laura, do you want to go ahead with some of the questions or
Yes.
wait?
Yes, let's go ahead with some of the questions.
One of the questions that maybe this is a Phil answer. One of the questions was to please post the PowerPoint or link to it. I know there were a lot of links entered, and I didn't go to each one, but that was one. And I think the next question was from Richard, who says, you said the rate is set each year. Does the law set a cap on how high the rate can go?
It's
capped
at 1%. It can go lower year after year, but it can't go past that 1%. It would have to go through legislature again to make it higher than that 1%.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's at 1 and it might go lower next year.
All right. Is there a limit on the number of times a single employee can take paid leave, Oregon, per year?
It depends on when they start their benefit year, because it goes for a whole year and they're capped at 12 weeks, 14 if it's pregnancy related, but you can't go beyond that time frame within that 1 year when you start your claim. It's similar to unemployment. When you start that claim, it's when it's that whole year. So it depends on each individual when they open their claim.
Okay. Next question, what happens to the funds the employee has contributed but never used?
The funds are not attached to one particular person. It just goes into the fund. It's not attached to like Social Security of, John Doe.
So it's not like a savings account or a health savings account?
No, it goes into the state fund, and that's where it'll sit. It's kind of like similar to like your car insurance. You might not use it, but you still pay just in case.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not attached to one particular person.
All right, next question. Can the employer insist that an employee use paid leave Oregon for eligible leave before using OFLA or FMLA with accruals to limit the potential of an employee being out on paid leave for 24 weeks?
So for paid leave purposes, once you start that clock, that 52 rolling weeks, similar to UI or unemployment, they limit you for the 12 weeks up to 4 weeks unpaid under OFLA and FEMLA. So when you apply for paid leave, that's when it starts. That's when you want your policies to concur to run together.
So they run together instead of stacked first one and then the other?
Yeah, and it depends on also like when the order, right? Like the first few months, like from January to September, we don't have paid leave until September 3rd when it starts. If you decide to use your OFA and FEMA for one particular situation, that's fine. But once you start, let's say you start, you have a surgery on September 15th and you apply for paid leave, September 15th is when you have 12 weeks, and that's when they run concurrent. That's when you could say, okay, this is how many you could take for paid leave, 12 weeks, and then you have 4 weeks after that. After that, it's your accrued leave or your sick leave, whichever one you want to take first and how you want to utilize those.
Okay. I just want to clarify, the question was, can employer insist that an employee take the
Paid
paid
leave
leave
first.
first? Okay,
Yeah.
the answer is no.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Phil, anytime you get your audio, you can jump in. I'll just keep doing this unless, until we hear differently. But we all see you shaking your head yes and no. Okay. You mentioned the 1% contribution can be reevaluated each year. Who reevaluates that?
I believe it's and Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, the Oregon Employment Department will be reevaluating that.
Yeah, we're not
Yes,
hearing you, Phil.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
But it's reevaluated every year by the Oregon Employment Department.
Does an employer have to pay vacation, PTO, sick pay also while an employee is on PLO?
I know that the medical has to be available to them while on paid leave, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, can you hear me at this time?
We can hear you a little bit. If you speak up, we might be able to.
Okay, the employers, so if a person is out on paid leave, they're no longer accruing vacation, sick leave while they are on those type of leaves. But the employer is required to keep any medical benefits that they're being paid. They're not required also to pay any contributions to a retirement plan while the person is on paid leave during that, if they're up to like a 12-week absence.
Okay, can these funds ever be used for anything else by the state, or is it restricted?
It's only for family, safe leave, or medical leave. That's what the purpose is for the program. Only those. I know we had at one point a childcare question. I'm like, sorry, we don't do that. It's only for these 3 categories.
Okay. Are employees required to use up their sick leave first?
No. And hopefully this is better. I'm trying to work through multiple microphone settings. No, so an employee is not required to use their accrued leave or vacation leave before applying for paid leave.
Karen asks, I'd like to build off of Megan's questions and ask if, I think this means the employee can take vacation, PTO, sick. If an employee is on PLO, can they supplement it with accrued leave?
If they're trying, sorry, go ahead.
100% wage reimbursement, would they be able to utilize accrued leave to top off their benefits to get 100% wage reimbursement? And if the employer allows it, is that the employer's discretion? The employers would need to make sure that their policies are up to date, if they're going to allow it or not allow it, but it'll be up to the employer's discretion. And then it'll be incumbent upon the employee to provide the notification from paid leave on what their weekly benefit is. Paid leave will not share the employee's benefit amount with the employer. So the employee will have to provide that information to the employer, and then the employer would be able to augment their paid leave benefit to get to 100% wage reimbursement.
I think I've covered the questions that were still in the chat. I have had we work with a number of businesses that are less than 25 employees, and questions about sole proprietors where I'm the business owner and the only employee. I know that you haven't had a lot of detail about that in here, but is that a question you can speak to, or how people can get more information?
For contributions for sole proprietorship?
Yeah.
Yes, so if they receive, and correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, if they receive a W-2, they are basically already a part of the contributions, because they would have to pay and they would only have to pay the 60% of the employee contributions, not the 40% of the employer contributions.
And that would be an employee. As sole proprietor, doesn't.
So if a person has an S corp, they would be participating in paid leave.
Mm-hmm.
So S corporations, nonprofit organizations, religious organizations, they would all be included in paid leave there. If a person who has been identified as self-employed and they receive a percentage of the profits of the businesses that they report on their taxes, state and federal taxes as self-employment income, then they have the option to opt in. But S corps are included in it, and they would just pay that 60% of the 1% of their gross wages, and they would be eligible for paid leave benefits just like any other working Oregonian.
Okay. I'm not sure if you are tracking here. Megan also asks, to confirm, a person cannot receive short-term disability insurance while on PLO. Is that correct?
Well, you can still, for paid leave purposes, we're okay if you have another insurance provider paying you a short-term disability or long-term disability. It doesn't conflict with us, but your insurance provider might not allow that. So that's why we ask you to consult the insurance provider if you plan on taking both paid leave and another insurance, short-term or long-term disability, to talk to them first to see if that's allowed.
Okay. Megan says thank you. Philip mentioned that the employee doesn't have to pay for retirement contributions while out on paid leave. Does the employee have to continue paying their medical dental premiums while out on leave?
So the employer doesn't have to pay the employee contributions for retirement pay while the person's out on paid leave. So the employee would have to get caught up on their insurance contributions when they return back to the workplace. It's the employer's responsibility to keep those benefits going, and then the employee would have to make the employer whole for those contributions, for their share of the contributions that were missed while they were on paid leave.
Okay, how does this affect workers' compensation insurance benefits?
So if you're going to do paid leave and you have workers, you wouldn't qualify because you have let me say this again. If you do not qualify for paid leave if you are receiving or under a workers' compensation insurance benefits or unemployment insurance, you would not qualify for paid leave.
Okay. Richard has a question he'd like to ask orally.
Yeah, can you hear me now? This is Richard. Hey, great. I'm thinking about the small businesses, like a small restaurant that has one cook. And if that one cook cooks all the food, let's say they're open for breakfast and lunch. Under this, they could go away for 12 weeks, or they could take 1 day off per week under this program. And I'm just wondering, are there any protections or hardship exemptions for small employers that are in this situation where they can't replace the employee, and yet the employee is out and the job is protected? Another example could be a small retailer that has one bookkeeper and they do all the books and the taxes, and they want to take November, December, January off, which is during tax time.
Right. So let
What
me
happens
jump.
in those situations where you can't just hire a cook right off the street or from an employment agency to cover 1 day per week?
Right. Okay. Thank you, Richard, for your question. And so under paid leave Oregon, the rules for employees they're not different. So right now, under the Oregon Family Leave Act, if you had an employee, say that cook or the bookkeeper in those scenarios, that had a qualifying event, they could go out on unpaid leave under OFLA and FMLA. The part of the difference between OFLA, Oregon Family Leave Act, and FMLA, the Federal Medical Leave Act, is that paid leave is paid. And so that's the primary striation, the difference there, because an individual could go out if they have a qualifying event there. Under paid leave, if you have that one employee, the small employers have the option to make that employer contribution. Then you become eligible for assistance grants that help pay for the cost of hiring a replacement worker or wage-related costs. So those small assistance grants, small employer assistance grants, and small employers could get up to $30,000 in a calendar year for grants there.
Okay, and how fast can they get that money? I guess I'm just trying to think this practically, because for bigger organizations, government agencies and so forth, you've got 10 people doing one job. So if one person goes out on leave, the other 9 can fill in. But for companies, or even chambers, as an example, just churches, they have one person in that position. Has that been taken into consideration, or is it, because paid leave should have a much higher utilization rate than unpaid leave? Is that expected under this program?
Looking at other states, so there are 11 states, including Oregon, across the nation that have paid leave programs, plus the District of Columbia. There are 5 other states that are looking to implement paid leave programs this year. The state legislature did take your concerns, that type of concerns, into consideration, and when they carved out the assistance grants. Again, it's very similar to the rules that are under OFLA FMLA, but looking at other states, there's been about a 7% utilization of paid leave programs across the country in those other states that have paid leave programs. So it might not be the mass number of people applying for the program that we would think of there, but so look at other comparable states, and looking specifically to Washington, it's about a 7% utilization of their workers.
Okay, that sounds good. And, I appreciate that the rate is capped at 1%, because when I look at the numbers, a minimum wage employee, if I remember the slide, it was earlier in the presentation, would pay $168 per year. And yet the benefit for that employee would be $540 per month, which is $1,600 per year. So they pay in a little bit, but they get to take out quite a bit. So
correct. And so if you look at it, somebody that has a middle income job. And so the example that I have currently on the screen, they would pay $400 roughly into the paid leave. And then 1 week of benefits would be just over $1,000, to be $1,042. And if they had a qualifying event, they applied for paid leave, they submit the appropriate medical verification documentations, and then or approved, they would be eligible for over $1,000 in benefits.
And it would be helpful just for future, just a suggestion, but the middle column show the annual contributions, but the right column shows 1 week of benefit. And since they get 12 weeks, that would show $6,000 plus. And it kind of, because somebody might just take 1 week off, but I think, they could take a lot more than that. They could take 12 weeks off. So
Correct. Right. And not every situation is going to be the same. And so paid leave can be in either daily increments or weekly increments there. So individuals could take it intermittently or consecutively.
okay. Do you have any statistics on those other states that have 7% utilization, what the average in weeks is being utilized?
I don't. That's something that we could do a request for, but I don't know what the actual weekly or daily utilization there is. We were looking at when they were setting up the determine what the percentage would be and looking at usage and all the actuary data. I don't recall them saying what the daily or weekly usage. I'm sure it's out there being tracked, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. And then let me, this is like a little clarifying question, but again, it gets down to those small employees. Like I'm on the board of a local nonprofit that recently decided to outsource the accounting function to a company rather than hiring somebody. The last person literally passed away. And instead of replacing that with an employee, they used a firm. If they were making that decision, can they make that decision while an employee is out on leave to say, maybe we should hire an employment agency to provide this service, or a CPA to provide bookkeeping services? Or does this law restrict an employer's ability just to change how they do their business in that particular regard because they feel vulnerable?
That's an interesting question. So if an individual's worked for their employer for 90 days or more and they go out on paid leave, while they're on leave, their job's protected. Now, if there's been a decision, a change in the structure, that's a whole different scenario there. So unfortunately, Richard, I don't have a good answer for you on that. What I would recommend, if you need an answer for this question, as far as get a technical answer on this, I would suggest that you email, and I'll put the information on the screen, paidleave@oregon.gov. And this is for anybody that has a question about paid leave, especially after this presentation is concluded. You can email your question to us, paidleave@oregon.gov, and one of our subject matter experts will respond to you, usually within 2 business days there. But you can email that question, Richard, and you'll get a response.
Great, thank you very much. That's really helpful.
Yes, sir, you're welcome. And you can also email through our website. I would recommend anybody for small business employers, for their employees, our website is great. I mean, it's been completely retooled. It's going to be retooled again at the end of the month. paidleave.oregon.gov. There are tabs for employers. There's tabs for employees. There's resource guides there. It's available in multiple languages there. If you have employees that are asking their employers about questions about paid leave, you can send the employees to this website. There are loads of information about the resources, what would be qualifying, what wouldn't be qualifying. Most applications for most individuals are going to apply online through our portal. And so it's a really good resource and a good tool for those employees. As we get closer to the launch of benefits, which will be September 3rd of this year, there will be a benefits calculator on our website, as Laura mentioned during her presentation. So individuals wanting to get an idea if they had a qualifying event and they applied for paid leave, they could get an idea of what their weekly benefit amount would be. It's only an estimate. They would still need to go through the steps of applying to get an official weekly benefit amount.
Looks like we have one final question. You said taxes are not withheld from the OPL. Is there an option for employees to choose to have those taxes withheld?
Yes, it'll be like unemployment insurance. So if somebody files a claim for unemployment insurance, they can make the determination if they want to have taxes withheld at the time of their claim or pay the taxes at the year. The same thing would apply with paid leave benefits.
Okay, we're at about 10:49. It looks like we've hopefully answered the questions. And we could give, if we didn't completely answer a question, I'm assuming we can go ahead and put that in, or go ahead and email paidleave@oregon.gov.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to drop the slide deck, the PDF version of the slide deck into the chat. I don't know if it's a function of this application, but we did email that to Josie, and Josie can share that information, the actual slide deck.
And I'll just say, I will share that with everyone because I have all your emails. And then I'll also send you the recording so you can share it with whoever you would like.
Thank you for having us. I apologize for the technical issues those gremlins attacked today. But thank you for your patience in working with us today. I want to thank Josie for all her efforts to get this scheduled and work with our schedules. And Ruth, thank you for facilitating this for us today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate that. This was a lot of great information.
Yeah. And if there's a desire from the chamber and from the SBDC, would be happy to come back closer to the program going live. There will be some updates on the application. Some additional rules are going to be finalized. And so there'll be more and new information available. We'd be happy to come back, say this summer, and give another update, give an updated presentation.
That would be wonderful. We'd love to have you back right before September in case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, feel free to work with Laura to get that scheduled.
Yes, I'm definitely make it happen.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us on this, and we'll follow up when it gets closer, probably in August, for another webinar.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for your time.
you.